Yeah, well, here we are again. Just a few months ago, we were seeing that tit-for-tat retaliation of tariffs between China and the US, all focused on critical minerals. And here we are now, about 9 months or so into Donald Trump's second presidency. And once again, this trade war seems to be bubbling up once again. Now, this retaliatory tariff that Donald Trump has threatened to put into place on November 1st, the additional 100% on top of the tariffs that are already existing on China, that is in response to a revelation that came from China in the last couple of hours and the last couple of days, that they would effectively be curbing exports of critical rare minerals. These are things that are used in everything from chips that are in your phone, your laptop, but they also are in many more important things like fighter jets and missiles as well. And it's really those components that the US is worried about. But China tends to be the biggest producer of some of these minerals that are essential in these big products. So they believe they have some kind of leverage over the US. And indeed, the last time we were in this situation, it appeared that they did indeed have the upper hand, because ultimately the US backed off on those tariffs, but they kind of brokered a fragile truce. Well, now, once again, this has reared its head. Donald Trump threatening to cancel that planned meeting at APEC in Asia with President Xi. He said that it seems to be no reason to have that meeting anymore, but he kind of walked out back slightly in the Oval Office just a few moments ago when we were talking to him. He basically is leaving some wiggle room here for negotiations, and said that is why he set the deadline for these tariffs on November 1st. So hopefully they can get some kind of consensus and get some thinking on these new rare earth elements and kind of make a deal on them, as it were.
We'll be keeping a close eye on those negotiations. During that press conference, Trump also confirmed his plans to go to Israel and Egypt this weekend amid the ceasefire in Gaza. Did he give any updates on that peace plan?
Yeah, well, so he was asked by my colleague Haley Bull from Scripps News as to whether there was consensus on the following parts of the peace plan. Donald Trump said that he believed there was. He said, of course, there are still sticking points, but generally he believes there is consensus. But when you hear statements from Hamas and Israel that have happened in the last few hours, it does appear that there are definitely still some sticking points that remain between the two sides. One of the key sticking points really was whether Hamas would have some kind of security guarantees, or at least guarantees more generally from the United States, as to persuade them that Israel wouldn't restart this offensive once the hostage exchange had been committed. And now I asked the president that, and take a listen to what he told me.
What guarantees did you give Hamas to persuade them that Israel won't restart the bombing campaign once the hostages have been exchanged?
What did I do with respect to them? Well, I spoke a little bit tough. And that's what would happen. I mean, you have to speak tough. That's a tough world. That's a tough, as they say, neighborhood. And they're tough people. They're very tough people, and they're smart people. They're good negotiators. They have a lot of things going. They put that to good use. They're going to be very, very successful. But they knew the retribution would be tremendous, unsustainable. It would have been unsustainable. It would have been complete obliteration.
So still some sticking points that exist there, but we did hear on a call with some senior officials yesterday that the US is sending 200 troops from the Central Command to Israel to maintain this ceasefire, to observe it and to make sure it is upheld. The US officials stressed that those troops would not be going inside the Gaza Strip. That was another question I had for the president that we didn't ultimately get round to. But Donald Trump is heading to the region to kind of take this victory lap in a ceremonial signing in Egypt on Monday. He'll also be heading to the Knesset to address the Israeli parliament on Monday before he goes to Egypt. Ultimately, he will then be heading back to DC on that same day. So a whirlwind trip in the Middle East for the US president.
Thank you so much for your reporting, Fraser.